Hello, my dear friends. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back. My name is Sarita. This is part 2. So first part I uploaded a couple days ago, and I actually recorded about 10 minutes ago, which was a Yankee candle haul, an unexpected one, because I found myself in a mall with a Yankee candle. I don't have actually a Yankee candle store in my particular city. I do have a Bath and Body Works, but you know, it's that semi-annual time where you can hit up another Bath and Body Works. There might be treasures, etc. There was also a special coupon on Monday that allowed me to apply an extra 20 or 25% off of the regular candle sale, which was $10 off, which really put the candles at about $12.60, $12.70, which I thought was a good price. And there were many new candles that have kind of come down the pike here for Bath and Body Works. And I wanted to try them out. So I ended up buying 8 candles. And then I discovered a semi-annual one in the store, which was this one. And it is Balsam and Firewood. And I believe that this was an online exclusive this year. I don't think I've ever smelled it before. I really wanted to, and there were like 2 of them sitting up by the register. They were 50% off, which made them like, you know, $13.50, which is more than you want to spend, especially in like the middle of January at the end of semi-annual. Like, shouldn't everything just be 75% off at this point, right? But I wanted it, I got it. So the notes on this one are cedarwood, cardamom, and white birch. Totally up my alley. I'm a rustic, outdoorsy kind of girl, and I love the exotic spices that they're also using there. And yeah, it's really beautiful. It's a spicier wood. So if you like Palo Santo, for instance, I think you would like this candle. It has a very warm, dry wood kind of component to it. And then it's just got a little bit of an herbal spiciness to it that could almost be black pepper, to be honest. It doesn't need to be cardamom, I don't think. It's lovely. It's a little bit linear. I can't say there's a whole lot of other dimensions other than that wood and that little like spicy bite. But I think it's kind of nice. I have heard that it doesn't project all that well, but the Palo Santo Sage one doesn't really either. So I'm really happy to give it a shot, and I'm glad to have picked it up. Okay, and then I have 8 more candles. Now, 2 of them were the new, and I know you've been seeing the pictures online, but are you ready for this? Are you ready for it? Fresh cut lilacs. Look at that packaging. Oh my gosh, like you just have to turn it all the way around. It is textured too. So like the flowers and stuff are like textured. Look at that. And this is really pretty too. It's like this kind of aluminum lid that is a little bit like industrial. And the display at this Bath and Body Works, they had like a greenhouse, a little mini greenhouse with the doors open and all of the candles there. And that's what it kind of reminds you of, is like, and I think that's what these panes are supposed to represent, kind of like a greenhouse effect. It is so cute. I mean, it would be stunning even without this like nice aluminum touch, but with it, I mean, that is stunning. It is stunning. One of the best candles I've ever seen in terms of looks. And even like the lettering is kind of like pearled a little bit. It's beautiful. I mean, it's just a wraparound, but gosh, that's gorgeous. And it's at $26.95. So this is like, you know how Bath and Body Works will just put out a candle and they'll be like $31.50. And you're looking at the candle and you're like, and why? Am I missing something? And sometimes it'll have like a fancy lid or something like that. And you're like, okay. But then there are candles like this that are like, have no premium given at all. And they look so premium. Like this candle, it's just, it makes it harder to pay for like those crazy candles in the $30 price range, you know? Because no matter how cool like the the lid is or whatever, honestly, they're usually never as good as some of these ones that come out in this $26.95 price point. Even those like fall ones with the pictures on the front, the paintings on the front that were like $24.95 because they weren't like a wraparound label, but they were just stunning. I mean, sometimes they'll just have like a really stunning candle. And sometimes I wonder if they even know, like, because you have a vision in your head. Like if you're a marketer, if you're a designer, you have a vision in your head, but then you have to execute it, right? And sometimes you don't know if it's gonna land quite the way that you envisioned. And I wonder sometimes if like some of their grand visions don't land quite as well, but they've already decided it's gonna be a high price point, you know? And then there's other ones that like land better than they thought they would and could probably charge a premium for, and they don't. So anyway, it's a little mini collection. This is in it Flower Child. Gosh, Flower Child is one of those candles that like I want to buy, and I pick it up and I walk around the store with it, and then I'm like, ugh, it's just too weak. It's too weak. It's too ambivalent. It's too anemic. It may actually be pleasant, but it's like a poor excuse of a candle. And the greenhouse fern seems the same way to me, to actually have a great deal of potential, but to just be so weak that I can't get around buying it. That collection is really good too, by the way. That greenhouse fern one, I think it might be a new fragrance. And it has the lavender and the vetiver in it and something else. And I think it's a William Morris kind of design with the tinted glass. Stunning. Also stunning. They have some really stunning like packaging and marketing designs here. And we just came from the Yankee Candle. Oh goodness, what a culture shock. From rags to riches, folks. Okay, so anyway, Fresh Cut Lilacs, Flower Child, Springtime in Paris. I actually ordered that online because Springtime in Paris is another one of those candles that I've always picked up and been like, I think I almost like it. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think there might be a peach note in that, which I kind of like. It is a little bit too generic Bath & Body Works for me. It's a little soapier, it's a little bit more body care, and it's definitely very sweet and a little bit too like artificially sweet for me personally, which is why I always set it down. But I have to say that Springtime in Paris is always one that I consider. And it's the second one in this mini collection that I would consider buying just for the packaging. So Springtime in Paris, it has this beautiful bird right here. It's so colorful, so pretty. Springtime in Paris, Flower Child, Lilac, and Eucalyptus Rain. I've never quite gotten behind Eucalyptus Rain. I just think it's ho-hum as a fragrance. And I'm not sure why you would have put it in this packaging either. This is not like a Eucalyptus Rain kind of moment, if you know what I mean, but God bless. Fresh Cut Lilacs is a gorgeous fragrance, and it is really very authentic smelling. That being said, this version seems a little bit weaker than what I remember lilacs being. I bought 2 of them. Let's see what this is. Yeah, maybe. Do you remember when I told you guys that like some people swear that Bath & Body Works like does a year on year off with fragrances? So like maybe this year's iteration of Fresh Cut Lilacs is muted, which means that next year it'll be like full volume. Whether it's intentional or not. Like I said, they almost never allow 2 years to go by with poor performance. Whether they intentionally plan it that way is a different matter, but I wouldn't put it past them. You know what I mean? Anyway, I bought 2 of them because I thought if this is ever a great Mother's Day gift, if there were ever a good Mother's Day gift, this is it. Right? I mean, doesn't that look like something you present your mother on Mother's Day? Yeah. And my stepmother loves lilacs. So we're just going to put this away a little bit. I know it's a couple months, but a couple months won't bother it at all. Just kind of sitting there because I just can't imagine anything else more stunning and more appropriate for Mother's Day coming out. If you have a mother that would love this lilac candle, buy it now. Set it off in your closet. She'll appreciate it. It looks like May. If there was ever a candle that looked like May, this one looks like May. So I bought 2 of those at $12.70. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. But they're not particularly new to me. And then, what else do I have here? Okay, so there is a new, okay, so these are a designer collection. The designers, you know, when they focus on designers, forgive me, I feel as though it is Black designers. Yeah, African American designers. I think it was South Pacific designers last time. I just feel embarrassed for not having like checked that and been more like, especially since like we should have good respect for these people being highlighted. So anyway, I've always kind of liked the designer series because I like kind of seeing some personalities behind Bath and Body Works. Like we think of Bath and Body Works sometimes as like this like Leviathan-like company, you know, a corporate, you know, umbrella. And like sometimes I think about like in my mind, whenever I think of people like making up fragrances, I just think of like a generic like corporate like boardroom with like all these white males sitting around, like Doug, you know, and all these people, and they're like talking about like fragrances they're gonna promote. Just because like, not because I think that's the way it actually is, but because in my mind, Bath and Body Works is such like a big corporate like company, you know, it's not a mom and pop shop, if you know what I mean, you know? And so it is kind of nice to see a picture of somebody who actually designed this fragrance, you know? And it gives it some amount of like uniqueness and personality that I think is just really nice. So I've always liked the designer series. I believe this is like the 3rd such designer series that they've developed within the last like year and a half. I think it's fairly recent. Most of the candles that they have given us in the designer series, though, have not been great. They've either been repackages of very familiar things and presented to us in a very unseasonal way, like a fall candle, for instance, in the heat of July or something like that, you know? Well, I guess that wouldn't be so bad. Maybe in the spring or something like that. Or the last one, the South Pacific one, like I just thought the candles were not that good. Even the new ones, and like I wanted to love the palm one because I'm a beachy girl and I love palm candles, but like it wasn't really that good. I'm really happy with this collection, and of the 4, I bought 3 of them. So let's talk about the 3 that I bought. No surprises, I did not buy the gourmand one. So the gourmand one I think was called something about sisters. My sisters, sweet sisters, I don't know, some sisters thing. It was pink. And it was like, what I liked, it had hazelnut in it, and I love hazelnut, but I couldn't really pick up so much on the hazelnut. There was a lot of other gourmand stuff that I just really didn't like. I think it was like cake batter and stuff like that. It's a no for me. It's just a no. So I decided against that one. But if you're a gourmand person, I think you'll like it. It's just a question of how much you'll like it, because I think it's a decent gourmand candle. Yeah? Then there's 3 other ones. One which is called Gwen's Note, and it looks like this. These are wraparounds, and I think they look a little on the cheap side. Of all of the designer ones that have come out up to this point, I think these are the ones that look the cheapest. And I don't know if you can tell here. They show like smudges, fingerprint smudges and scratches like really easily. And the seam doesn't look very nice. And I feel like if the glass were maybe tinted this way, it would be a lot better. I think they kind of phoned it in a little bit, but could I imagine worse packaging even from Bath & Body Works? Yes, I could, so it's fine. So Gwen's Note is a fragrance created by Gwen Gonzalez. And then we have Yumi in the Sea. That's a really pretty color. I love it. And it's so perfect for like a sea motif because it's got that like slate blue with like that like copper sand, like, or I don't know, even like a flecked sea kind of like component there on top. It's really pretty. This one is also by Gwen Gonzalez. And this one is also by Gwen Gonzalez. No. Yeah. So they're the same all three the same person? It says fragrance created by, and then it says designed by Katrina Judkins. So Katrina Judkins and Gwen Gonzalez. Maybe they're just featuring these two, Gwen Gonzalez and, I'm sorry, not Katrina, Katria Judkins? Judkins? I'm sorry, I should have researched this before. But they've got a lot of like literature, and the display is really big. So these are all by Gwen, I think. All right. Well, but I think that they're new too. Is it possible? It didn't really say that they were new, but it said they were exclusive. And like Gwen's note, for instance, I mean, I don't think that that's been in their catalog before, and it doesn't say they're repackages of anything. So it's possible that all four of these are new, which also is kind of new for this like designer series. Yeah? Nice. All right, so let's talk about them. The oddest one by far is Gwen's note. Okay. Gwen's note is bizarre. I was watching Ken from Candle Channel, and he like thought this was, he said that he like visibly, like viscerally, like flinched when he smelled this one. I recoiled a little bit too. It is very odd. And at first I was like, ugh, you know? But then after like the fourth or fifth time that I smelled it, I was like, actually I might like it. I'm not really sure. And I liked it enough that I was like, I would have liked to have brought home all four. I just knew I wasn't going to like that gourmand one, so I didn't. But yeah, then I decided to get it. I was laughing to myself. I walked around that Bath & Body Works because I was waiting for my iPhone to be fixed by Apple. And it was a blizzard, and it was an outdoor mall. So I kind of wasn't loving like going from store to store. So the Bath & Body Works employees, I would just, from time to time, I would like venture out to another store and then like come back to Bath & Body Works, and they were like, welcome back. Just like, yeah, I know. Anyway, I was laughing to myself because I'm like, you know, it's kind of like a Bath & Body Works version of Stockholm Syndrome. You're like walking the store, and like the 25th time that you walk the store, all kinds of things smell to you much better than the first time you went through. You know what I mean? Like the first time you pass through and you smell some of these things and you're like, what the fuck is this? And then like by the 9th time, you're like, oh, actually, I can smell the nuances here. It's starting to grow on me. You know? 9th time you smell it. By the time it gets to 15, you're like, done. All of this going home with me. I don't know what it is. You just, you know? Anyway, that's kind of what happened to Gwen's note. At first I was like, absolutely not. But then like, I was like, ah. And now that I smell it here, I'm like, it could go one way or the other. Okay, so her blurb says, sandalwood is one of my favorite materials of my personal palette. Mine too, so sisters. The intriguing dualities of warm and cool, caring and sensual elements have made it a signature note I use in many of my creations. I mean, with the exception of warm and cool, which is not explained very well, I just feel like she could have described sandalwood a little bit more evocatively. Caring and sensual. I don't know. Anyway, it's fine. The notes on this one are creamy sandalwood, sage, sign me up, soft lavender. Okay, I'm not a huge lavender person, and I do start getting nervous when you pile too many like austere herbs together. Those are the 3 elements. It's real weird. So it's got the sandalwood. Yes, it is a sandalwood, I think. I think it's the sage that is the most funky and obvious element in this candle. The lavender, I think, is providing kind of a floral sweetness. But between us, I'm not really sure that all three elements play well together. And I would specifically call out the lavender and the sage. I'm not sure, and this is what I say when I get nervous about that, especially with an herb like sage. Sage doesn't go with everything. It just doesn't. And like some herbal elements are more versatile than others. I'm just not sure that sage is one of them. And I think sage and sandalwood would be one thing. I think sage and lavender might be the problem here. But, but, there is an element that smells very waxy. And by waxy here, I mean almost like crayon-like, yeah? There's a strong like crayon wax dimension to this that is marring the fragrance. And I don't know why crayon wax would come from the marriage of sage and lavender. So I'm just not sure. The execution of this seems off. But individually, I love sandalwood and sage individually done. Lavender, it's not my favorite thing, but okay. And I love that it's not achingly sweet. So I'm gonna try it. Let's see what happens to it once it burns. This one has the core wicks, and the Yumi and the sea. Oh, the rest of them have like the rope-like wicks. So this might have been the only one with the core wicks. I can't remember what the gourmand one was. All right, so let's go to Anna's Garden. Anna's Garden looks like this. Green. I guess I didn't show you this one. Isn't that pretty? Isn't that pretty? All right, she says, a tribute to my mom whose flower gardens always made us feel at home wherever we are, which is nice. All right, so the notes on this one are orange blossom, white tea, and jasmine musk. Yeah, and I like this one, actually. It reminds me a little bit of aloe and agave, although this is more aquatic than this one is. But they both have like a peppery bite to them, like a spicy bite. Where would the spicy bite be coming from? I don't know. Maybe the white tea, but white tea tends to be it's very subtle. A white tea is subtle, and it often tends to be floral in nature. So you have orange blossom and jasmine, both of which are strong, like white florals. And then you have tea, which can also go a little bit white floral, but you know, objectively, that authentic note should not be able to compete with blossom and jasmine. And then you have musk. So I'm not really sure where I'm getting kind of the peppery component, but it could be the jasmine. It could be the jasmine flower, which is just kind of, you know, jasmine can have a more kind of exotic and spicy quality to it when it blooms a certain kind of way. So maybe it is just the jasmine. And yeah, there's musk, but it's a higher musk. It's like, you know, something they might call a white musk, right? And the musk and whatever that peppery dimension is, even if it is the jasmine, is cutting the sweetness of those two flowers, which could just go extremely sweet. And so this candle is more balanced than it should be on paper, frankly. This should be like a floral, it's like a floral firework that all of us are we need to like get our EpiPens and all that kind of thing. And there is something really sultry and almost herbal about, and maybe that's what they mean by the white tea, but like I said, it doesn't come across as tea to my nose as much as this could be like a cardamom, which is why I immediately grabbed for the aloe and agave. I like it. And it's more austere than you would expect from this kind of a candle. Don't get me wrong, it's sweet, it's floral, but there is something a little more balanced about it. So like the Backyard Honeysuckle, which is a new, I really like. It's a very nice, authentic honeysuckle, but there really isn't anything cutting it or adding any other nuanced dimension to it. This one is a beautiful floral, but it's got some like herbal spicy elements to it that are cutting it, not even to mention the musk. So I think it's just a more interesting candle, frankly. So I'm excited to burn that one, probably as it gets closer to spring. And then we've got You, Me, and the Sea as well. She says, a memory captured in time, discovering a hidden beach cove with my love, bathed in the last drops of crystalline delight. No, sunlight. Crystalline sunlight. You, Me, and the Sea. So the notes on this one are blue orchid, fresh eucalyptus, and salt water. So you've got a nice floral. Not that orchids are that fragrant, but you know, they're going with some kind of a floral there. And then a eucalyptus, which can be another botanical / herbal, and then saltwater aquatic. Oh my gosh, I love this. This is probably my favorite one. So this one has a ton of ozone in it. You know, when they're like fresh air, this is a fresh air kind of candle. Oh, wow. It has an enormous amount of ozone. In fact, I would say that's one of the strongest elements of it. There's something very beachy, coastal about it. So it's not only an ozone, but there's also, I don't know if it's a briny, like a salt brine dimension to it. With a soft herbal, but I would say that eucalyptus is just coming across as like an austere, like vaguely herbal thing, but not like overt in your face eucalyptus. It kind of adds this like still aquatic, like mineral kind of dimension to it that just works so well. But it's the ozone. I mean, you feel like you're on the coast and you're like breathing in a gust of like sea air. I love it. These candles are kind of up my alley. There's an austerity to all three of them, really. And they're not too sweet for me, with the exception of that gourmand, which was with the cake batter, was definitely too sweet for me. But I'm excited about these three, and I'm excited. I love being able to support these like designers and these fragranciers. I really do. I love seeing their faces. I love like recognizing them, putting a name with a fragrance. And this is the first one that I feel like I am really happy to like buy these candles. The other ones I just couldn't get excited about, right? All right, so I have 3 other candles, and these are all new neutrals. I love seeing new candles in the neutrals line. These are okay. Really, honestly, the designers are the same way. I would call these all strong mid-range candles in that they're not necessarily hoard worthy. They're not necessarily like pink lavender and espresso brilliant, like best new candle nominees, but they're good mid-range and that they're good new candles. You know what I mean? They're very decent, and you have to fill out your collection. You really want to see a lot of good mid-range candles, knowing full well as a candle company that not everyone is going to be like a best new candle. Not everyone is going to be like brilliant in the sky, but the other ones, like it just, what you don't want is like a couple brilliant ones and then just like shitty and or mediocre, underwhelming, etc. And I think that all of the ones that I brought home seem very like decent. So I have 3 new ones. I think these are new fragrances in the neutrals line. Cardamom and Vetiver, not to be confused with Vetiver Glow, which was kind of in this natural situation, or it looked like a naturals even though it wasn't. Vetiver Glow was actually one of the designer series, and it was like that bright orange, like almost a neon orange that came out in the last collection. I ended up buying it, but then returning it before I burned it because I heard reports, too many reports, that the presence on it, strength and throw wise, wasn't great. And it was a very like heavy vetiver. And I love vetiver, but there really wasn't enough that was interesting in that candle. And so I ended up letting that one go. And there were several stacks of them at many of like the outlet stores that I went to for this last month for semi-annual. This one kind of has an orange. It's a little bit of a softer orange. I would say it's kind of like more of a like carrot, organic carrot, like orange, cardamom and vetiver. And then I have blue verbena and lime, looks like this. And then I have wild rose and suede, which looks like this. There was another one too, which I think was sweet orange and agave. Oh my God. That one I recoiled on. No matter how many times I walked around that store, that one was an absolute no. It doesn't feel like neutrals to me either, in that like, it is like when you open the lid, it's like a 10 rather than anything subtle or nuanced. It's not subtle, it's not nuanced. And it's really all of the elements of Capri Blue Volcano that are most effervescent, sparkling, carbonated, sweet, and citrusy, with none of the other elements in Capri Blue Volcano that anchor and ground it, if you know what I mean. So we've talked about Capri Blue Volcano a few times on this channel. Not my favorite fragrance by any stretch of the imagination, but what does ground it is they do have some mountain greens in it, which I believe are somewhat coniferous and perhaps even a little herbal underneath the fragrance. Are they immediately obvious to you? No. I mean, the high notes and really the most dominant notes are that like very effervescent citrus combination. But there is something very like premium. There's a premium feminine perfume element in Capri Blue Volcano, and there is a botanical green element that grounds it, that makes the fragrance not only more nuanced as a fragrance, but also more grounded as a fragrance. Still not my favorite. This sweet orange coffee is just all of the like boldest, least nuanced, sweet citrus component of the candle with none of the other. So I'm obviously not a fan of that, but there will be women who love that candle and who buy it in hordes. God bless. I hope it's a great seller for them. Their Capri Blue Volcano has like a cult following, and there will be a woman of a specific kind that will love that candle. Not me though. I'm just not that woman. So passed on that. But if you like Capri Blue Volcano, definitely smell it. It's the closest Bath & Body Works has come to a dupe of that candle. Although I did think that, I know they say that blue one, that citrus, whatever it is supposed to be a dupe. I don't think it's a very distant dupe of Capri Blue Volcano. I actually thought that the golden mistletoe or whatever that came out at Christmas time was closer than that blue citrus candle, midnight citrus or whatever else it is. I think that the golden berry and mistletoe was closer, but this one definitely is the closest, with the caveat being that it's just all of the top and dominant high notes with nothing on the bottom. All right, so let's talk about wild rose and suede. The notes on this one are pink tea rose, soft suede, and warm amber. I mean, on paper, this is not a fragrance that I thought I would like very much. I'm not a huge rose person, and when you have rose and leather and amber, you can almost go to the bank. Like, this is gonna be a very heavy, mature fragrance. There's gonna be probably very little relief in terms of your nose. This is a big surprise though, because it does not smell like that at all. Such a weird candle. Oh my gosh. The first few times I smelled this, I was like, what is this? And I just thought that like all the other like smells were competing in the store. And I was like, this just must be like, I'm smelling other things that are interfering. Or this got put in a box where there was like shower gel and then it like leaked. And surely this is not the fragrance. This, folks, is a laundry fragrance. No question. It is soapy, but it's not just soapy. It's like fabric softener soapy. This is, or like, you know, like one of those dryer sheets. It has a strong like linen or cotton kind of dimension to it, which takes it very much into that laundry day kind of place. But it's not as aggressive as laundry day or white t-shirt. And it's actually very pleasant. I'm not a huge laundry person. This is really a very lovely laundry scent. And it smells a bit more premium than often a lot of laundry scents do. And it has to do with, it has some musky elements. And it also has a perfumed element to it that takes it into a more premium place, I think. Yeah. I don't know that it really smells overtly rose as opposed to some other kind of floral. While I wouldn't necessarily identify it as a white floral, I don't know that I would necessarily identify it as rose either. It is some kind of floral, but it's not a fresh floral. It's like a floral oil, the kind that you would put in a perfume. And it's definitely not aiming at being some sort of fresh, authentic botanical moment. It's just really not. So if you're here for the rose, I think you're gonna kind of be disappointed. If you're here for the suede, I think you're gonna kind of be disappointed. If you're here for amber, you might be okay, because it does have a nice perfumed quality to it. There could very well be amber, but could also be a lot of other things too. It could be a white, like high patchouli, for instance. What is very strong and overt is that like laundry detergent with a very strong like cotton or linen kind of smell to it. I was watching afterwards, I watched Candle Channel, and he mentioned that this was very similar to a candle that came out, and it may have even been a test candle, and it was like, I can't remember what it was called, white rose and linen or something like that. It had linen in it, and I thought to myself, that's it. If this was called wild rose and linen or something like that, that would be the perfect name for this. I don't really think there's a whole lot of leather in this, unless in a conceptual way you're going to attribute the musk to being leathered. It's strongly a linen, cotton, laundry, floral, but it's not cheap smelling. It's really not. It's premium. So I actually think that a lot of people would like this, but I don't know that they're gonna necessarily even reach for it, given the rose and the suede or the leather. I mean, it evokes something that's heavier here than what the candle actually is, although I wouldn't say that it's necessarily fresh, except in the fresh, clean laundry sense, if that makes sense. I wouldn't say it's a light fragrance either, but the laundry and linen dimension definitely make it a mid to like, yeah, a high mid candle, range candle. It's kind of opening itself up, at least in a fresh and clean kind of way, rather than like a fresh outdoorsy or botanical authentic kind of way. Anyway, I don't know that I'm gonna burn it, and I might return it, but it was different and I decided to go ahead and get it. Blue Verbena and lime. This one is sugared lime, zesty verbena, and garden thyme. It's interesting. I almost don't like it, but I do. This one does have green botanical elements. It's got a very like green vine, green stem kind of feel to it, which I love. Yes, there is kind of a zesty, citrusy dimension to it, but the citrus doesn't run away with the candle, which I really appreciate. And I think that there is kind of an herbal bite to it that is identifiable as an herb. I don't know if it's quite identifiable as thyme, but thyme would be an herb that would fit this profile, in that it's got a pepperiness and an austerity, you know? Yeah. But it is a sweet candle at the same time, what with the, it says sugared lime, what with that citrus note. And the verbena is also kind of giving it like a lemongrass slash like kind of zesty green herbal as well. So really through and through, you've got some like, the bottom is very like so basically if you think of like the unsugared part as being the bottom all the way up into the sugared part, right? You have like the greenest and most herbal, like austere herbal down in here, and it just beautifully in this entire continuum goes up from like, and the verbena is kind of like stuck right in the middle, where it's like the thyme morphs into the verbena, that grassy verbena, and then the verbena goes into the citrus, goes into the lime, goes into the sugar. So it really is like a beautiful like journey, as it were, from almost the ground and something which is unsweetened up into like sugar. And it makes sense at each step of the way. It's really nice. It's really nice. I think for a lot of people, they will think of it as being a beautiful like kitchen burn, especially with those herbal and with the citrus. And I think it's lovely. I really do. Would I personally like a little bit less sugar and a little bit more herbal and green? Yeah, but I'm that kind of person. I like those elements, and so I would prefer a little less, but I do think it's fairly balanced. And I think because it's balanced, there will be people who otherwise would not consider themselves to be like super herbal people who will really like this candle. It's a stunning blue. I like it. It's a great spring candle for them. Really good. Cardamom and Vetiver is last. Warm cardamom, vetiver, and white amber. I don't know what to say about this one. I'll tell you what I want to say about it. I think this is a Palo Santo candle. I think it is the Palo Santo note. You know, like the one that's in Palo Santo and sage? And I'm not entirely sure. It's softer than Palo Santo and sage. But it has a vaguely herbal dimension to it, not as like austere and biting and identifiable as the sage and the Palo Santo and sage candle, but it's kind of got a soft herbal with the Palo Santo. And I would say something really creamy. I don't know that it's straight up vanilla, because for a minute I'm like, wait, is this just Palo Santo and vanilla that they've like repackaged? But I don't think that it's a strong and identifiably enough vanilla note for it to be Palo Santo and vanilla. But it is like a much creamier, more like soft version of Palo Santo. It could be like a sandalwood, for instance. They say white amber. And then the vetiver is obviously standing in for the sage. But to my nose, this smells like a more muted version of Palo Santo and sage, and a more creamy dimension of it, which for me, it kind of washes out the brilliance of Palo Santo and sage, which is just so stark and so rugged and so piercing and austere. This one kind of washes away all of those elements and gives you kind of a very conceptual and airbrushed version of Palo Santo and sage. I guess this is for the people who like the Palo Santo. If you like the Palo Santo and vanilla, I think you would like this one. I think this one is basically right in between the Palo Santo and vanilla and the Palo Santo and sage. Then there's this that's like, it's like minus the overt vanilla with a little bit more herbal, but definitely definitely like mitigated with a lot of like creamy elements that are just, it's kind of like when you pour milk into your coffee or pour sour cream into whatever spicy South American dish you've got. It just kind of mutes everything and cools it down. That's what's happened here. For me, I prefer Palo Santo and sage, but I do love their Palo Santo. And I smelled it for a while and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna give a try on it, see what the strength and throw is like. It does seem odd to me though that they haven't called out some sort of wood, that they're just telling us it's Cardamom Vetiver, which are like pretty piercing and like funky herbs with amber and all. I mean, on paper, this should just be overwhelming and very heavy. And it's not, because I do think it's that Palo Santo note. And everything is mitigated with a lot of cream. So that's what I've got. That's what I've got. I don't dislike it. I just like it a little bit more unfiltered, if you know what I mean. All right, so friends, those are all, if any of these candles are available online, I will link them down below. And if they're not, just give it a hot second or go to your brick and mortar store. They'll probably be there. I like all these candles. Like I said, a little bit mid-range for me. I don't know that any of these are like standouts with the exception of maybe You, Me, and the Sea and maybe blue verbena and lime. I would say of all of them, those are the two that are the most impressive or the most intriguing, but we'll have to see upon being burned and we'll see how they're received. Thank you, my friends. I'll catch you in the next one.